right, so we're going to talk about phase shift a little bit more in depth today. That's the only one we really haven't gone deep into. So we're going to discuss phase shift at depth today. All right, so phase shift we know moves things which way? Left and right, math term for left, right? Horizontally, okay? When we're adding or subtracting directly to the x in this function, remember, yes, it moves horizontally, but if I'm adding to the x, which way does it move? To the left. Good. If I subtract to the x, it moves to the right. So it's kind of always in the opposite direction of what we think it should be. All right? Now, sine and cosine are literally just horizontal translations of one another. Okay? There's a phase shift of pi over 2. If I take and I move sine pi over 2 units to the left, I'm now equal to cosine. If I take cosine and I move it pi over 2 units to the right, I'm now equal to sine. Okay? So I want you to take these two and write them in your notebook. Okay, so what did I just do? When we're talking about a basic shift, when our frequency is 1 and we're just talking about a basic shift, it's very simple to figure out what the phase shift is. Okay? If I have y equals sine of x minus pi over 4, the phase shift here is just pi over 4. And it's positive because we're moving in what direction? To the right. Okay? So when my frequency is 1, right? My frequency is 1, whatever's in front of the x. My phase shift is just whatever my c term is in the opposite sign. Okay? Quick, easy, no problem there, right? Now, it gets a little bit more difficult when we have a frequency that isn't 1. What's frequency here? 2, okay? In order to just take my c term and write it as my phase shift, my frequency has to be 1. So what I have to do is I have to take and I have to make my frequency equal to 1, all right? What was it? Plus pi over 2? Doesn't matter. Okay, so I want to figure out what my phase shift is. So here's what we're going to have to do. Remember, phase shift doesn't affect amplitude. It doesn't affect midline. It doesn't affect frequency. It only takes it and stretches it out. Okay, so you're only worried about what's inside that trig function. You're not worried about what's on the outsides. Okay? So here's what we do. We have to make this right here so that it just says x. So I'm going to pull out my frequency. And what I mean by pull out is take it out and write it out front. So it's like pulling out your GCF. And how we do that? Okay. How do we figure out what goes into the parentheses if I pull out the factor of 2? So how do I get what goes inside? You divide everything by 2. Give me another way. What's dividing by 2 the same thing as? Dividing by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by what? 1/2 by multiplying by the reciprocal, right? So what I can do is I can take what's on the inside and I can multiply everything by 1/2. And that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to multiply by the reciprocal. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Okay? 2x times 1/2 is 1x. Okay? Pi over 2 times 1/2 is pi over 4. Great. So now my trig function is written like this. Is it the same thing? Yeah, just looks different. Okay? So now my phase shift is negative pi over 4. Okay, it's always that opposite sign. All right, so all we're doing is we're pulling the frequency out. We're dividing the frequency out. Okay? We're going to do a lot more practice with this. All right, so let's have your packets out. Go ahead to page Bless you. I don't know what page is this, 20? $21? Okay, so find page 21, please. All right, so 1, A, B, and C should be really quick and easy because notice the frequency has already been divided out and put out front. Okay, it's already been factored out. So what's the phase shift for A? Pi over 4. Done. It's already been done for us. Notice the frequency is 1 for all of these, right? Okay, what's the phase shift for B? -8. Perfect. And C? 90. Great. Any problems there? All right, so let's get a little harder. Let's look at 2A. What's the problem? Yeah, the frequency is 2, right? And I don't want it there. What do I want it? I want it outside. Okay, so I need to do what? Yeah, so I'm going to pull out that 2. So I'm going to multiply everything here by 1/2. So what does this become? Perfect. So my phase shift is awesome. So we're multiplying by the reciprocal of our frequency. All right. B, what's my frequency? 6. What's going to go in my parentheses? X plus 3. Okay. 18 times 1/6, or 18 divided by 6, is 3. So my phase shift is -3. Perfect. All right, let's try C together, and then I'm going to have you do the next 3 on your own. What's my frequency? 3. What do I need to do? How? How? 1/3 times 3x minus pi. Okay, so what does this give me? X minus pi over 3. Okay, you distribute that through, that 1/3 through, right? Good, so your phase shift is pi over 3. Okay, so I want you to try D, E, and F, and then we'll come back together and go over them. Okay, so what are we pulling out for D? The pi over 4. What's the reciprocal of pi over 4? Yeah, so I have to do pi over 2 times 4 over pi. How do I multiply fractions? No! Straight numerator, numerator, denominator, denominator. What happens to my pi's? And I'm left with 4 over 2, which is 2. So my phase shift here is +2. Okay. What am I pulling out for E? 6. So what am I multiplying 3 pi by? 1 over 6. Good. What's the denominator for 3 pi? 1. So straight across, you get 3 pi over 6. Good, it reduces to pi over 2. So what's my phase shift? -pi over 2. Excellent. One more. What am I pulling out? And 1/2. So I know I'm going to have x minus. Reciprocal of 1/2? Good. So this becomes what? 2 pi over 12, which reduces to, good. So my phase shift? Pi over 6. Always the opposite sign. Okay. Getting the hang of it? Okay. So let's look at number 3. Can I make this go by? Yeah. Okay, so number 3 says, which of the following represents the phase shift? Awesome, just pi over 8. Because that frequency has already been pulled out, right? You can tell by this parenthesis here. It's being separated. And what about 4? Which of the following represents phase shift? This we have to do a little work for, right? What do I need to do? Take out the half. So pi over 2 times 2 over 1, and we just get pi. So my phase shift is pi. You get the hang of it? Okay, so I want you to work on the next page. Okay? And we'll go over it in a bit.